Okay, so back from holiday and I've been doing some thinking. So for IVA, which is individual vehicle approval, I need at minimum a driver's wing mirror, and it needs to be adjustable from the driver's seat. I don't think I'm going to have the opening windows or even being able to get an arm through the vent window is probably not going to be able to adjust the mirror. So I was thinking about trying to incorporate some of the Tesla technology. So I did have a mock-up before. It really didn't look very good at all. So obviously that's a bit of a weird shape. And that assembly is just not going to go. So I started looking at various other modern cars. The AMG Resto Mod Gullwing that was done, I think, in the 90s. They used what looks a bit like a Porsche 964 Cup teardrop mirror. So looking around, and it happens that the R56 Mini has got a similar sort of spec. So I'm going to have a bit of a play with this. As you can see, I've already started dismantling it. That profile there should mean it'll mount either on the door or the wing just ahead of the door quite nicely. So I figured I'd transplant the guts of the Tesla mirror into that, because I know that obviously the Tesla mirror is controlled through the screen. It has memory functions, dipping, all that sort of thing, auto fold. So this one has got auto fold, it's heated, and it's electric adjustment. So I figured, because it hasn't got the memory function, I will have to convert to the Tesla adjusting platform. So by sheer coincidence, if you look at those two, they look near enough the same. So that's my next job. I'm going to take this apart a bit more, see if I can swap them over. The heater is obviously, it's just a resistive element. That's nice and easy. Well, 2 wires on the Mini, and it'll be 2 wires on here. I'm not sure if it's these top two or these two. I think it's those two. So that's easy enough. And the auto fold function, also I've got another one further dismantled inside or in the house. That's just 2 wires that reversed it to either fold in or open out the mirrors. And same goes here, look. So it's this connector here disappears into a motor that just rotates it. So that's my next job. Just unscrew those and see if they'll swap. Nice. The 2 adjuster assemblies out. So this part number here is the same, but in there, I don't know if you can see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pins, and only 3 on the Mini one. So obviously this is for all the position sensing. And fit straight in. So that was a great bit of luck. Actually, I'm hoping the Mini mirror clips on as well. Pretty sure it will. It all looks identical. Yeah, it feels like it'll push on. I don't want to do it right now. Right, so a bit more dismantling. See if I can transfer the harness over. and work out where the auto fold wiring goes to. Bit of wrangling later, and there's the loom out. So that one's for the folding motor. That's the main one for the mirror adjuster. I think that's the chromatic dimming and the heater. So I've just got to work out how to get those threaded in. Obviously I've pulled the mini ones out as well. I've got to go up through there. Quite a small hole. I think I'll probably have to end up snipping the wires and reconnecting them. Probably have to lengthen it anyway. But I might just bypass that proof of concept, plug it in. Very quick one just to show the seat belts. I don't think I've shown them actually in situ. Fit nicely. A little bit close to the neck I suppose, but I don't care. It's just one of those things, I'll get used to it. Okay, so after a bit of a wait with transport, I have my, well, most of my glass. So that's front, rear and the rear quarters. I'll unpack that in a minute just to make sure that nothing is damaged. Got the other wing mirror to dismantle and transfer the guts. And after many months of being dicked around by Sam Harper, Alex in Bulgaria has magicked up a dashboard for me, along with sorting out the glass with all the correct IVA markings. It's even measured out all the bits and bobs to go in it. But I have a bit of a dilemma. If you see that, there's quite an offset. The steering wheel to the instruments. Obviously it's not in exactly the right position, but I've got to get my thinking cap on. I can move it over a bit, but if I move it over all that way, I think I'd have to move the seats over and then have a non-existent centre console, pretty much. So definitely some compromise to be had. So I think I'm going to have to do some mocking up and trying to work out which way to go. Checking over the glass, seems good. Laminated with some nice markings that will keep the IVA inspectors happy. Let's go check the rest. Right, thought processes. So at the moment, so all these numbers are going from the centre line of the car. So the seats are 335mm offset. The Gullwing dash is 270. So that's a 65mm offset that I'd need to move to line everything up. And then the steering column as it is 35mm offset. Sorry, 35 centimetres. So that's 85 centimetres difference to the dash. Now there's no way I'm going to move the steering column 85mm. I think that's just, well, you can see it's just way too much. And the steering column will start getting quite silly angles. There are UJs, but I think it's too much. So, and the other thing is the seats, if I move them too close together, I'm going to start running into issues down here. There's all the HVAC bits. So that's kind of the hard stop for my left foot sideways. And I also do want to end up with some sort of centre console. That's the stability, so that the airbag bit with the yaw rate sensor and things. So I suppose I could flare a console down at the bottom to cover it. But you can see the seat centre mounts are going to end up touching each other. The seat's going to end up touching, and it's going to be too close together. So thoughts going through my head now are the gauges there. The originals are 115mm. So I think one thing I can do is drop it down to 100mm. That would shrink the binnacle so that it could be a bit closer to the right hand side pillar without visually squashing up this gap to nothing. Yeah, I'm still thinking over numbers, but I think the dash combined with not moving the seats, moving the steering column over 30mm, and think I'll do some juggling. I'll probably just remake the dash front, and then cut and shut and move over the dash top. But yeah, you'll get the fast forward to see what I actually do, but I've got a bit of head scratching to do. Just before I start cutting up steering mounts, not that it's relevant, but Alex did actually send me a ponton hubcap. So what do we think? I think the originals stick out quite a bit because they sit more on this sort of raised rib section, and the originals don't have as many holes and different shape and stuff. But is the more finished look better than the sort of the racy look? Something easy enough to sort out later as well. The colour of the wheels could go body colour, which a lot of originals did. Don't know, it's kind of growing on me. We'll see. Okay, so that's the steering column moved over 30mm. Feels okay on the driver's seat, so I think I'm going to leave it there. Other bits starting to clash are the wiper motor. So I cut that clearance hole. As you can see, it's only just got the nuts on, so it needs to go all the way further forward to get the wiper arms on. And by the time it would get to that position, this piece, which is kind of holding both sides together, would be coming up through the A surface. So I think, unfortunately, I'm going to have to ditch this. Also, these wiper arms on the back of the spindles were sort of bumping up and are very close to the dash as it's positioned. In fact, it can't even get low enough to be in the correct position as it is. So I was trying to avoid it. I always rather prefer to use OEM parts for this sort of thing. But with the wiper connection, there we go. There are only actually 3 terminals, so I don't think it's going to be too complicated to adjust that to an aftermarket sort of worm drive gearbox type car builder solutions. So that'll be my next bit. And also that's a lot more compact. I can fit the motor down out of the way. And it won't get in the way of the steering crossbar either. So I think I can probably get on with that now. Right, another problem. So I checked the Tesla wiring diagram, and yeah, only 3 of the terminals are used, but it's LIN controlled. So I think I'm going to have to find some aftermarket spindles on their own, having a quick Google, old VW bus Type 2 spindles would seemingly do the job. So obviously I need to be able to mount them independently into the well, the scuttle, the car body, and then I'll have to make up a mount. So the motor and its controller is separate, and it's just this arm that goes back and forwards. So actually to keep that is fairly simple, but I'll need a pair of spindles and a couple of linkages, one between the spindles and another one to drive the master. Ticking things off the list. So that's the steering crossbar in and upper steering column mount. I've slotted it because I'm not sure if I'm going to move it back a little bit as well yet. The front one's sort of mid-fettling. Yeah, more and more structure. That's the body dropped on. It does feel good to have some structure around the dashboard. Plenty of space for whichever wiper mechanism I end up using, and also for the dash fence. And it's it's nice and low for the dash top as well. So space for getting tweeters, wiring, and also I am thinking I'm going to try and put the Tesla glove box hidden up behind the dash, so it just drops down. It's not massive, but it's space. Okay, so starting point, I was trying to juggle the two fiberglass bits in midair and it just wasn't working. So I used it as a starting point and made this hardboard pattern. I've tweaked it up a little bit, and obviously I've moved the binnacle bit over 55mm it ended up being. So I've been measuring from random data points, trying to figure out where things will land. So with the column where it was in its sort of highest point, just about to see that mark, that's the top of the column. So I think now I'm going to cut a hole, take the wheel and switches off, and see how well it lines up really. And then I think I'm going to shrink the binnacle a little bit to match some slightly smaller gauges. Definitely starting to feel a bit like a cockpit. So you can see the offset of the binnacle. Yeah, and it'll sit a bit further back, so I'll gain a bit more clearance with the column there, because it's all a bit tight to get the stalks around in there. I'll probably end up having to cut it down. I may end up just chopping the bottom out of the dash, but I'll see. I think I might have raised the bottom of the dash edge a little bit compared to originals, but you'd have to look really hard. I'm not sure. It feels right, and the thing I was worried about was knee space around here, certainly for the brake and accelerator pedals. But that's fine. It's absolutely fine. So a bit more tinkering now. Okay, so this has kind of been my reference picture in one of my Gullwing books. It may not look like it, but there's a hell of a lot of measuring and tweaking and adjusting that's gone into this mock-up. So I think that's about right. Compared to the one I was supplied, I've dropped the top of the binnacle. That just seems to fit better. Don't know whether that's just my car. Yeah, and just see I've fitted it to behind the body. If you can just about make out, I've drawn on some 100mm circles. The original gauges are 115. So that kind of looks like there's a bit too much space either side. So I think I still am going to narrow the binnacle a bit. And if I end up going for slightly larger gauges, I can always move them closer together because I'm not going to need any of the warning lights or anything. But I'm just trying to measure twice or 3 or 4 or 5 times before I do the cutting. So you can see the binnacle there. So I'll probably chop out the binnacle section and shuffle it over. But obviously I want to do the minimum number of cuts to make it all nice. Strange, for some reason it's higher on this side, the template. I've just copied that over from the inside of the binnacle. I'll probably just even that out, just kind of looks wrong to me, even though it'll cover it up. And then once the lip of the top of the dash there sort of tucks over the top, that'll be fine. So anyway, I think that's it for this week. I've kind of had enough.